Welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions, everyone. I'm Tim Durling, and I've got a returning co-host here. It is Chez. Chez, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, Tim. Thanks for having me again. Excited about this one.
Yeah, this is cool. Chez guested when we talked about the Kansas 50-year box set, and I have Chez to thank for making me aware of this. I'm sure that it would have popped up eventually, but he was the first to tell me about this album, and originally I wasn't going to get it because I already had it, but there was bait. There was bait. So Y&T obviously, and I'll ask Chez about this in a little bit, his history with getting into the band, but obviously they're a big, one of my favorite bands. I got into them in 1990, and unfortunately it was the end of 1990 that they played what at the time were their farewell shows, very end of the year. And then that next summer, Metal Blade Records, I remember I didn't know it was coming out. I looked in the store and saw this, Yesterday and Today Live, which was a 13-track live album on Metal Blade Records. And this is the copy I bought, the US version, clear cassette. And it was actually a very useful release at the time as far as information. It's got a cool collage of pictures inside of it. And behind all these liner notes, it's a variety of different backstage passes from different tours. It's also the first time I ever saw the original Yesterday and Today logo.
That's awesome, that logo original. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'd only seen a bit of it before because if anyone out there is a Tesla fan, if you look inside the Great Radio Controversy, I think it's Troy Luccketta, the drummer, has a Yesterday and Today shirt on. You see enough of it to let you know what it says.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I knew they were from the Bay Area. So, but this was also the liner notes also let me know what the second album was called, Struck Down, and they do the title song from it. I had no idea. I knew their first album was called Yesterday and Today. I knew Earthshaker was the third album, but pre-internet, I had no idea. So this was really good. That, and it's just a really, really good live album. And I've also got, just to show you the difference, this is the Canadian version, which the main difference is that the cassette looks completely different.
Oh yeah, it's the darker one.
Yeah. At this time, the Metal Blade numbering system, they were distributed by Warner Brothers, so it had pretty wide distribution. And this is my original CD, which I bought in '91. I always like the design on this CD. I don't know how well it shows up, but
yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And it's got the fold out with. This is when you can really make out all of those backstage passes.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. So of course this was the lineup as it was at the time: Dave Meniketti, Phil Kennemore, Jimmy DeGrasso, and Steph Burns. Great lineup. Not a long-lasting lineup, but they did come back when they reformed in the mid-90s. And they did Musically Incorrect and Endangered Species, same lineup. Really, really good, solid musicianship. A few years back, I actually discovered that it was made on vinyl, which I did not know. So this is a UK pressing.
Oh, wow.
Live on Metal Blade. Serial number is Zorro21. I don't know why. And it's actually, this version is distributed by Music for Nations, which is a fairly well-known British independent label. As a matter of fact, my CD of Endangered Species is from the UK, and it's on Music for Nations. And my Metallica Kill 'Em All vinyl from UK is on Music for Nations. That's quite an old one. And you can really make out even more of the detail here.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
So like I said, I had that on, what I thought were all the formats, but Chez brought it to my attention that there's a reissue coming out. And I said, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. 2 bonus tracks. And I said, I'm in. Gotta have it. Mm-hmm. So Chez, let's see the reissues.
All right. Well, I'll show you the vinyl first.
Yeah.
See that? And opens up like this.
Much like the
right up.
Yeah.
And I will show you the color. So it's that blue they were advertising on the.
Yeah, the hype sticker says sky blue marble. So yeah, that looks awesome.
Yeah, sounds great. Pick that up, and gotta get the CD for when I'm walking and in the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a double.
Yeah, and I like the design. The design's cool on the CDs themselves. Just that shot of Dave Menichetti doing
I've always loved that picture. I think it's such a cool picture.
Doing the classic Menichetti lean.
Yeah, it's just great. And I've listened to 3 times, twice the vinyl, once the CD. Sounds great. Perfect. Love it. Love the set list. Interesting set list. Some of the choices, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of the songs they didn't play. You thought they kind of were going to play because it was at that time. He even says it on the CD, like it's kind of like a farewell show, right? Those shows.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of missions that are kind of interesting. Yeah. So it's great. It's anybody looking to get that. I think you'll hear both Tim and I say, well worth it.
I'm going to guess that there are still, I could be wrong, but I'm going to guess there's still more songs on the chopping block because, as you said, there are some what I would call staples that they didn't do. For example, Open Fire is not on here.
Yeah,
that's
the
usually
first
an
one
opener,
stuck out.
close to an opener. And I know that sometimes it's begrudgingly, but they didn't do Summertime Girls. And I would have liked to have heard this lineup do that song, No Synths, because I have heard that on the bonus, on the deluxe version of Open Fire, which is the original band, they do a really good live version of it. With no keyboards. Yeah. And one of the songs that was a staple song that I was always surprised was not on the original was Rescue Me. And that's here. But the big one, which would have been a mind blower for me in 1991, because I didn't have the first album, is Earthshaker, the song. So there's a song called Earthshaker on the first Y&T album, and their third album is called Earthshaker, but the two really don't have anything in common. Those are the 2 bonus tracks. And they really, if you're well familiar with this live album, you're hearing that lineup do these 2 songs, and they're awesome. They just sound really, really, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and what's cool about the front cover is I'm just going to guess that's a much older photo of Dave, because for one thing, he's not playing a Les Paul.
Yep. First thing I noticed. Yeah.
It's like the name of the design's not coming to me. It's almost like not a 335. It's like a 335 shape, but it's pointy at the end instead of rounded, like the ones the rounded ones like Alex Lifeson always used to play, and countless others. But my one regret about all of this, and I never really thought about it until the reissue came out, is I wish they had filmed it.
I was thinking that myself. I wonder, we wish they filmed it, but is there something out there kind of laying around? You just wonder about that, because usually that kind of went hand in hand, like they were filmed and then you had the audio. So who knows? That'd be great if that kind of showed up sometime. You definitely probably would have a better line on that if it was even filmed, that type of stuff. So that would be so cool if that showed up.
I don't know. I'd be interested to know if my buddy Rowdy Jeff, if Jeff Keir's watching, who knows those guys and was their webmaster for many, many years, and also contributed to the Unspooled book. Do you know if they filmed it, Jeff? Is it out there? Now, I have seen some bootleg. I may have them on a DVD somewhere. There is a full-length concert out there from the summer of '92, which is weird because I thought they'd split up, but they must have done spot dates here and there. Yeah. And I think it's from Santa Clara, California. And it's the same lineup that did this, that was on the 10 album. And I remember that, among other things, they surprised me because they did Face Like an Angel from Down for the Count.
Wow.
Which I was not expecting to hear. But so there is some pretty good quality Y&T stuff out there. I really wish that they would put together, I understand the fan base doesn't run quite as deep, but I wish they'd do something with that Y&T footage like the Kissology home videos.
Oh, great.
All the existing footage. I mean, I have the only things that have been officially released are the live at the San Francisco Civic from '85 on video, that which is only an hour long version of the concert that aired on MTV. I guess that it's obviously a much longer concert. So it was filmed in San Francisco, and I believe the lineup was Lita Ford, then Y&T, then Twisted Sister headlining.
Yeah.
So that footage is out there. And then in 2007, they put out a really, really good CD DVD package called One Live Night, which is really hard to find. Yeah, that's really good. And what I liked about that is that they also put the audio, the CD in there too.
Yeah,
because it makes for a great live album.
That's the way you do it. Yeah, I bought that when it came out right away back in the day. And like you said, you can't find that anywhere now. It's really hard. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder what else is out there really throughout the lineups. I know one thing that I'd love to see all of, and it's fairly good quality, even though it's dark, but I remember that on the website for a while, they made available a clip of them doing Shake It Loose from Earthshaker from a club in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that whole show if it exists. Yeah. It's part of hard rock history that Motley Crue's first ever gig was opening for Y&T. Does that exist? Does that whole show exist? That would be really cool. You know, sometimes you think, everything's come out that could possibly come out, but sometimes you get a surprise. So obviously they had these two songs sitting in the can, these two extra songs. So, not to sound greedy, but we'll buy it if it, the Y&T fans are die hard. We'll buy it if it comes out. And
I love that they did that because they're sitting and say, let's tack them on. And they're awesome. The whole thing's awesome, but fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be cool, but if they'd actually filmed it and there was, like a Blu-ray of this, but it definitely cost more back then to get a camera crew in and film it. And there's always the possibility that they filmed it and something happened to the footage, or, this happened or that happened. And maybe that's the best they could do, which is an excellent package. And I'm glad it's available again. So to anyone that's, this is kind of for the diehards, but there are some live albums that I wouldn't recommend to new fans necessarily, because most of the time I think it's important to get the studio versions in your head. And then the live versions, you know how it's supposed to go. But this is a great live album. Like, there's nothing wrong with this being someone's introduction to Y&T, because you've got a lot of the staples on here. And just to add, especially this time of year, we're going into summer. You want something to cruise around when you're out and about in the car. This is it right there. This to me is perfect for that. But the renditions of these songs are spot on. They're tight. And they sound great. It's just top notch. And for sure, definitely, you're definitely going to get the full experience of those songs, whether you've heard studio versions or not. Yeah. And most of the albums, even in its original form, most of the albums are covered, because they do Beautiful Dreamer and they do Earthshaker from the first album, Struck Down, which is just a really, really cool version. One of my favorites. The Struck Down album is actually my least favorite Y&T album. And it's mostly because the production is so bad. Yeah. The production is very, very poor in that album. It's all flangey and loose sounding, whereas the first album has a really raw, off the floor production, but it sounds good. Yeah. The second album just suffers for that. So Earthshaker, of course, they've got, Rescue Me, I Believe in You, Hurricane. And it's the first time, because when I bought this, I hadn't been able to find Earthshaker. It's the first time I heard the song Squeeze that the late Phil Kennemore sings. Of course, they got Black Tiger. Winds of Change was a nice surprise. That's not one that I would have expected. Of course, they open with Mean Streak, which just sets the pace. Yeah. And but Mean Streak's one of those songs that it's kind of like Detroit Rock City. If you're a Kiss fan, they can either open the show with it or they can close the show with it. That was the first Y&T song I ever heard. I can still remember it. 1983. The guy on the radio, listen, Friday night, guy on the radio says, here's the latest from Y&T, Mean Streak. And that was the very first song I heard. And it was like, whoa, this is too good, Wow. So you go back
Yeah.
further than I do. I was going to ask what your history with Y&T is. So if you heard Mean Streak on the radio, I've never heard Mean Streak on the radio. I know that it got some air play, and I know that it charted on the Billboard Rock chart, but wow, that's awesome. I mean, like most people my age, I saw the video to Summertime Girls. That's the first time I was aware of them. I didn't really get into them until I saw the video to Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. But like I said, I got into them and then they break up. But fortunately, that didn't last. Fortunately, that didn't last. Yeah. You know something else, Chez, in the Y&T camp that I would love to see get a proper reissue because it was never issued in North America is the Meniketti Live in Japan album.
I've never heard it, but I know it exists. Yeah, I would love to get a copy of that too.
Yeah, because for those people that don't know, Dave Meniketti put out a solo album in 1998 called On the Blue Side. Actually, Jimmy DeGrasso plays on it. And then in 2002, he put together another band. Y&T hadn't broken up, but they weren't active at that point. He put together another band called Meniketti. They did a self-titled album, both of which are really good, both of which they aren't that different from Y&T. A little more bluesy, but he's always leaned towards that anyway. And this Live in Japan album came out in 2003 in Japan, and it's a mix of songs from those two albums, and it is ridiculously expensive on Discogs, and I'd love to get an affordable version of that.
Yeah, for sure. Almost like the Night Rangers situation where they put those Japanese only releases out there. And it was like, hey, we want that stuff here too, you know? So
I don't, you know what? I don't even have any of those because they're ridiculously expensive. And I love Night Rangers. So it's not for lack of looking for them. It's just, I can't justify paying $200 for a CD.
Yeah, I've looked and it's no way, you know, but I'm sure over there, it's just like, it's available like anywhere, that type of stuff. So very cool.
So there you go. That's Y&T Yesterday and Today Live, reissue of their 1991 live album with a couple of extra tracks, and well worth picking up. If you're a hard rock fan and you're not familiar with these guys, this is as good a place to start as any.
Yeah. What's your favorite cut on the album, Tim? What's your favorite song?
Well, I really like Struck Down. I really like the way they do Beautiful Dreamer. I like that when they do Hard Times, which is the only thing from 10 they do, there's that extended part at the end where they jam a little bit.
That's one of the surprises. I would have thought they would have played they play something from 10, Hard Times, which is great. I would have thought it would have been like Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. That was one of the ones. Yeah, I thought, wow, that one's missing, but they play Hard Times. Yeah.
I'd be interested to know what songs from that album they did, because unfortunately, I love the album. It didn't do well. I'd like to know what songs of the 12 songs on there made the live set, because I'd love to hear live versions of stuff like Going Off the Deep End and Surrender and Red Hot and Ready. You know, it's just a fantastic album. But yeah, you know what? I'm going to say Hard Times with Struck Down a very, very close second.
I love the version of Forever on here. Yeah. The closer. So good. You know, Don't Stop Running, one of my favorite songs. They did a great version of that, you know? Yeah. And, but yeah, for sure. I got to ask you, Tim, though. So on disc 2, second song, I'll Cry, right? Yes. So that's I'll Cry for You from Contagious, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know the background? I said, I got to ask Tim that because I know it's the same song. It's instrumental, right?
Yeah. And I've never known why they changed the title on here. I've never understood that. Again, maybe somebody else knows, but yeah, I remember looking at that and going, well, I don't know a song called I'll Cry, but it's gotta be I'll Cry for You. It's like bluesy instrumental. The last song on Contagious. It's the only thing from Contagious on here. That's another one I'd like to have heard is Contagious.
Yeah. But so that's
I don't know why they shortened the title. It's not like they ran out of I don't know. I've never understood that, but but whatever the case is, and this Y&T reissue along with Extreme 6, I got these both on June the 6th, which is 3 days before they were supposed to be released, which I don't understand why. I just ordered them off Amazon like anything else, and they hit. I think somebody goofed and pushed it out the door too soon. But
Yeah,
it's
I got both of those came in on the Friday, but yeah, I've been noticing that a lot lately. I've gotten a few things that have come in like early like that too. So hey, yeah, like you said, if we pre-order it, yeah, we should
I
get it
think
early.
it should get it early. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I got the wing. I got Winger 7 a day early. But when you
yeah,
add something to Discogs and they ask you if you've do you actually own this? This is ahead of the release date. It's like, I know that. You just override.
yeah.
But yeah.
I just want this one here, this Ultimate Y&T.
Yes.
So this would have came out after this one because the
Yes.
last cut on here is Beautiful Dreamer live from
Yes.
Yesterday and Today live one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I always knew it was, but then just kind of going back and double checking and
yeah.
like this.
It's absolutely
Yeah.
the same version. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out in 2001, and you'll notice that's got the hippo symbol on it, which is the universal reissue. They put a Y&T one out. They put a black and blue one out, a couple others. And I think that's a really good, I like the best of 81 to 85, which came out.
I won that from your contest. That's a great one.
Yes.
Love that.
That came out like a couple of months after 10. So that was handy for me because it's the first time I ever heard anything off of the Earthshaker album. I didn't have that one. But this one's good because it includes the Geffen, a little bit of the Geffen stuff. And it also has a couple of songs from their independent albums from the mid 90s. So it's got I'm Lost.
It goes right to the end there. Yeah.
It's really good. It's really up to date. And what I like about that is there's no studio tracks from the first two albums, yet there are songs there because Beautiful Dreamer and 25 Hours a Day are from the first album. You get live versions of those. And then I'm Lost, which is from Musically Incorrect, is a remake of a song from Struck Down, and a vastly improved remake, I might add. So you do get a taste of what they did from 1976 all the way through 1997.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, I don't even own those first two albums. I came across them, like they're hard to find, like down here, just around. I came across them both at a record show once, and the guy was asking way too much for them, and they were not in great shape, But one day. But it's great to have that overview. But yeah, to me, like the 81, 85 and that Ultimate, plus this live one, that to me is like a great starter pack,
Yeah.
So
fortunately, there is another, a few years ago, Universal put this thing out called Earthquake, which is it's a 4 CD set. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So that's got all of the A&M albums, Open Fire, and it's got a bonus of live. It's a BBC recording. Sometimes some parts of the world it was called Live at the Friday Rock Show. Mine's just called BBC Live in Concert, and it's really, really, really good.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites on here. On this thing, they call it Live on the Friday Rock Show, but yeah, great set list. Looks to me it's from the In Rock We Trust tour because there's a lot of cuts from it on that one. But
actually, there's two. It's from two different sources, Chez, because I think half of that is from In Rock We Trust and half of it's from Black Tiger. That's why I believe it's Rescue Me is on there twice.
Yes, it is. You're right,
and that's why, because it's from two different sources. So yeah, that's where those originate from.
Yeah.
The only things that would have made that a little bit more complete, I have it too. I mean, I kind of had to buy it, but the only things that would have made that complete are the live version of Summertime Girls that was on the B side of the single,
right,
and eventually ended up on the reissue of Open Fire, and the studio version of Go for the Throat.
Yep.
Which originally appeared on Open Fire as a brand new song live. The studio version was on the Hearing Aid album, which is something else.
Yeah,
I'd like
I'm
to
still
see
after
reissue.
that one.
Yeah,
I heard the estate was, it's in the works type thing. I have this single. I had bought just a Hearing Aid single off of eBay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want that album there too. Yeah, definitely.
I only have the Hearing Aid on cassette. I found the cassette for $1.
Oh,
at a,
wow.
at
Yeah.
a Zeller's about 30
Yeah.
years ago. And I remember
Yeah.
seeing the video on Much Music. I'm like, oh, this is that song with all, it's like the heavy metal We Are the World, you know? And since that time, since seeing it, I'd kind of forgotten who all was on it. And I remember when it, you know, once the song kicks in, I'm like, that's Dave Meniketti.
Yeah, the biggest song that metal community put through, and he's leading off right there, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
That was
Ronnie
so
sings
cool.
the intro, but when it kicks
Yeah.
in, you know, sometimes in the night, and he does some really good ad libs at the end of the
Yeah.
song. But I also remember seeing This Has Go for the Throat, the studio version on it, which I've got, you know, it made it even more worthwhile. That live version of, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but Heaven's on Fire from Kiss. And I
Yeah.
think that's from the Animalized Live Uncensored concert, because it sure sounds like that version
Yeah.
from Cobo Hall. And it's got Rush, Distant Early Warning from the Grace Under Pressure Live, which at the time wasn't available on CD.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I would imagine that, because I know as far back as 2010, like after Dio died, that Wendy Dio was talking about putting that out again. But you've got, I mean, to deal with the Hendrix estate, because there's a Hendrix song on there, that, you know, that would almost be a dead end unto itself. You've got so many different record labels, because you've got Sony on there, and you've got Warner, and you've got Mercury, and you've got A&M.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's just one of those things where they say it's just not worth it. But I would love to see a proper Hearing Aid reissue happen. Now, the funny story is I actually had the chance to buy that on CD, because I think it was only ever issued on CD in Japan, and just once. But in 1996, me and some buddies went to see the Kiss reunion in Montreal, and went to HMV. And it's the first time I'd ever been to an HMV. And I found the import section, and it was just like, wow.
Oh, yeah. Was that the best, that import section, HMV?
Well, I bought Mean Streak and Down for the Count on CD there. And I bought Sammy Hagar Street Machine, and like rare stuff. And I'd spent, I don't know, quite a bit of money. And I guess they saw the Hearing Aid CD and they kind of hit it on me. But, you know, hindsight being what it is, some of the things that I bought, I could have waited and they would have still been available. But how are you supposed to know that? I know one thing in particular, and you'll appreciate this, was I bought Audio Vision's Vinyl Confessions and Drastic Measures, because those had never been on CD before, and there they were like $10 each. So I just scooped them up. That was a good haul. But the Hearing Aid CD was there, and anyway, whatever. Someday, I would imagine that someday we'll get reissued. You know, I think that Universal Music owes all of their artists a little bit of grace, because they had that fire and they never told anyone about it. So, and that includes every label Y&T was ever on, because London and A&M and Geffen, they all get gobbled up by Universal eventually. So there's all those master tapes. So,
that'd be great.
So there you go. There's some Y&T talk, and I'm always up for talking about one of my favorite bands. So thank you, Chez, for
thank you, Tim. This was great.
We will be talking with Chez again very, very soon for another reissue, this time a Canadian one. So watch for that. And then later on this summer, I guess this would be the 5th album by one of our favorite sort of unsung bands will be coming out, and we'll be talking about that too. So
awesome.
So thanks everyone for watching this edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions, and we will see you later.